Hey, everybody. Right. So today we're going to do the one word induction. Um, I'm just having a look at some notes I wrote right a second ago to make sure I do it. So the whole deal with the one word induction was I don't know what I was doing, but I was starting to think about trance and hypnosis and when it actually happens. And we know that people are in trance all of the time. So, one of my biggest things when I talk to people about hypnosis and whether I can be hypnotized or not, I always say to them, are there things that you're doing in your life that you don't want to be doing, but you can't stop? That's my big saying that I say to people. And if they say yes, then I say that's hypnosis. Basically, you're hypnotized into an idea of having to do something. And so we're not like hypnotizing you out of it. Your natural state is to not be doing it, right? But you're in a trance of doing a behavior that you don't need to be doing, maybe because of trauma or other reasons. So we know that people are going in and out of altered states all of the time, for one. So when someone, and you guys will be in this altered state now, some of you because you know my voice, others because you're listening to what I'm saying and it's focused attention. But we know that a lot of the time the client either walks in an altered state, and that's why they sit down and start crying because they really let go of stuff. Or when you talk to them about their issues, they're kind of going in and out of altered states, telling you they're getting triggered. They're relaxing in your space. And because of this, of course, if you were to understand body language and breath and what's actually going on, you will be able to work with people in a way that you can put them into an altered state without even having to use words and inductions. And the biggest thing for me is if you can do that, then you can do anything with anyone. Do you know what I mean? You'll start to really notice that the induction is not the words that you're saying. Like you don't have to get the Elman induction perfectly correct. There's a lot to why the person relaxes. And if you guys have ever done hypnosis or listened to a recording with someone and their voice hasn't gelled with you for whatever reason, and it's really hard to go into an altered state, you'll kind of notice that it's actually the person and their voice, and there's a lot to what makes a person go into a space where you can actually work with them. The one thing I will do is if we all go into our settings, it will be a little bit annoying for noise. But if you go into your settings, if you're going to start playing, if you are going to do this on a computer with your clients, and because this is more suited to in-person work, but of course we can do it online. Go into mute because I'm going to do it right now, and there should be audio settings. And I'm just playing with you. What you want to do is background noise suppression. You want it to be on the one with the least, basically. So maybe even put it to original sound for musicians. And the reason why you do that is so that you guys can hear my breathing. So now that I've changed it, if I was to breathe, can you hear that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I'm actually going to hook up my mic. I didn't even set up my mic today. So I'm going to get my good mic. Oh, shouldn't I? This one here takes away different sounds. Oh, I might just leave it with my computer today. That one's an AI mic, so it takes away things. So what happens is our Zoom automatically takes away background noise. So that's why when you click your fingers, when you're working with someone, they don't hear it. And so in one of the inductions I do with the Almond, it's 1, 2, 3, eyes open. And click your fingers, closing your eyes down. And when you're practicing, no one hears the clicks because Zoom actually takes the clicks out. So when we are practicing today, you actually want the audio settings on musician, which means that all the background sounds will be going through. And so you'll hear the clicks and you'll hear the breathing. And if you are going to, like I said, if you are going to use your breathing and things like that too, I use the word manipulate, but manipulate doesn't have to be a bad thing. So when we're manipulating the nervous system to relax, is not a bad thing. If we're using hypnosis to manipulate people, to do other things that might be a little bit naughty. But we're actually going to use our body and our breathing and our eye contact and our hands and all of this kind of stuff to get people to relax down and go into a good state. So yeah, so the noise on Zoom is quite important if you are going to play with breath. Yeah, it's great when you've got dogs and things in the background. Has anyone got issues with sorting out the Zoom?
Yes.
Okay, so go down to the little microphone if you've got that and click the little arrow. And then down the bottom, there's a button which says audio settings.
I see it.
It might be a little bit different if you're on an iPad or an iPhone. I'm not too sure about those. And then it should be, you should be able to go down to, it's not showing it now because I cancelled it, but there should be a setting which says to do original sound for musicians.
Yeah.
And that means that all of the sound is going to be going into the things. So if you were to do a group hypnosis session with people online, and you wanted to have background sound playing, that is, you'd need to have that going if you're going to play music while you were doing a group session and you wanted it to go through your computer. If you had music playing on it, you'd be able to hear it otherwise. So that is a really good setting to know. So once you've done this, again, turn it off if you're going to do lessons, because it cuts things out like dogs and stuff, barking, kids making noises and clicking, and all of that carry on does get filtered. Oh, so what we're going to do is we'll talk kind of first about how hypnosis happens. Like I said to you, hypnosis is happening all of the time. Hypnotherapy, of course, isn't. So people talk about how, some people in the hypnotherapy community says hypnosis is a thing and that we put them into it, and the other people say it's not. For me, hypnosis is an altered state where our imagination is more real than reality. Hypnotherapy, though, is when we use that state to create change, and we kind of induce altered states purposely. Do you know what I mean? We know what we're doing. We're using either imagination or a heightened emotion or words and chants to get someone into an altered state. So that's quite different. When you're working with recently, which is really awesome for our community, they were saying that they could never pinpoint a hypnotic trance on a ECG or a SPECT machine, as one specific thing, meaning they'd put 1,000 people onto a scanner and put them in trance and no one would present the same way. The brain waves are not the same. Nothing's the same, but they just did a massive 1,000-person research in the States on the Esdale state, that specific one where you can do surgery on them. And that was a specific state that people went into, and the same parts of the brain fired up and it presented exactly the same way. So finally, they've been able to prove that there is a hypnotic state that we go into that is exactly the same for everyone. And it is the Esdale one, and it is the one that they use for surgery, sometimes childbirth, things like that. But as in the other ones, it's all very different. Like there's not one way of talking about hypnosis. So for us, it's really understanding how hypnosis happens. A lot of people are taught that you put someone into trance using an induction. And, we do teach you inductions. And most of the time the induction is taught because it's what people expect. So if you expect to go into a room with someone and talk to them about what they're doing, and you've seen things about hypnosis, you'll expect an induction. And most people expect one where you go downstairs or you relax down, right? But what we do know is that hypnosis, once again, is heightened focus and imagination. It's when your imagination is more real than what's going on in the outside world, which is most of the day. So when we start to look at what is actually causing people to go into the state, this is where it gets interesting. Like you could do the Elman induction with 10 people, maybe only 2 people get you relaxed. And you ask yourself, why is that? Because the words are the same. So we're listening to the same instructions. We could be following in the same way. But why is it that one person can make us totally get wasted and other people not? What's the difference? And this is what I find really fascinating. And it is very individual to everybody. Because we all know, someone might work with you and you feel amazing, and someone else might work with you and you don't, but yet that person's amazing for somebody else. And it all kind of comes down to nervous system stuff. Because when we do go into that space where our mind opens up and we feel safe, it's always about regulating the person. So what is actually happening when our mind is feeling safe enough to open up and follow instructions and really look at the world in a new way, which is what we do with hypnosis. And it is always about nervous system regulation, right? It's about making people feel safe with us. That's all it is. And if you've been with me before, say Caroline, I play with Caroline all of the time. But like if there are times, hey Caroline, when your brain's not going to shut off, there might be too much going on. The world's just not safe, and no matter what I do, it's just not going to happen. And really, it is about making the client feel safe. So the words make us feel safe. How many times has someone said to you, "It's okay," and they're lying? Trust me. Yeah, nah. All of the time. Do you know what I mean? So words have energy, and words have what's behind the words is massive, and energy is everything. So when we look at doing inductions, when we start to understand that it's not really the words that we're saying, it's how we're holding ourselves, it's how we're regulating the person, it's knowing the right time to work with someone, when are they in that right space, you'll start to realize that that there's so much more to it. Yeah. So does that make sense? Any questions about that? No? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll go into how we regulate people. So if you think someone's coming into you feeling nervous, the only thing that stops someone 100% of the time going into a really deep altered state is fear. And fear is not fear of you or fear of the process. It can be fear in general. So if you think of our brain like animals, and I always use horses, people know this, I always use horses as an example. If a horse has had harsh experiences and it's been trained not to trust humans, it takes either a very strong person to come in that's so safe that the horse will relax, or the horse is going to be jittery, right? Because the environment is not proven to be safe. And it's the same with us. It's the same with us. So that's why some people will go into hypnosis easy and others not, based on their life experience, based on what they've gone through, based on the environment that they're in at the time. There's a lot to it, but we can actually use our voice and we can use our body language and things to play with that. I used to not believe that it was fear that stopped people going into an altered state, because I couldn't go into one. Like there was no freaking way I could go into Esdale or anything deeper for years and years. There was no way anyone could stick my hand to my head. Like no freaking way. It was not happening. And I was a very big believer in helping others with hypnosis, but it wasn't a thing that happened with me. And it wasn't until Cheryl Elman told me to stick, Desiree, you might have been there. Cheryl Elman told me to stick my hand to my head. And because she was so authoritative and she was the boss, it just stuck. And hypnosis happened. That was the first time, and it probably took years and years before I experienced that. And it was basically, when you look at that, it was authority, meaning there was a lot of respect there, and it was trust. Like I trusted that she wasn't going to do anything stupid with me in front of the class. So my mind instantly went into the space where my hand was stuck. I knew I could move it, but it just couldn't at the same time. So when we go into also looking at hypnosis happening, we look at authority, creating a space where people will trust us 100%. They know that we know what we're doing. Trust and authority. It's a big thing. That can be built, of course, with your website and how you present yourself and all of those kind of things. However you do, you draw the right people in. So when we understand that all of this other communication is going on, which is unconscious communication, and you start to notice that there is this kind of communication, you start to understand that the induction and the words are such a tiny part in putting people into these spaces. And you can intentionally say things and do things when you're working with a person to get them into a space where you just need to look at them and breathe, and they'll be gone in a second. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we are going to practice some of this stuff. And I was thinking the other day about how just using a one-word induction, like the word relax or good or right, or something that presents something that tells the person that they're doing well, whatever that word may be. For me, I like the word relax just because they say it's not relaxation, but it damn well feels like it when you're sitting in a chair chilling out. We know it's not, but I don't care. It's semantics. Do you know what I mean? But I was thinking, if I was standing in a room, you guys just imagine this for a second, right? Imagine you've got this big group of people, and I said to everyone in the room, I guarantee you that I could walk behind somebody right now, and if I put my hand on their shoulders, they would go instantly into trance just like that. So you imagine if I said that and I just slowly walked around and just stood behind someone and just breathed. And then just slowly went. It would work. Can you feel it? Like, can you actually feel how that would work? Like, I can feel hands going on my shoulders even when I'm explaining it to you guys. Okay, and yep, that was a little bit of naughty language at the start. I mean, it's setting the people up. If I went up on stage and I said, right, I'm going to walk around this room and I'm going to choose one of you, and when I put my hands on your shoulders, you're going to close your eyes, and then you just walked and the whole room was silent watching you, and you just stood behind someone and breathed. There is no way, as long as you didn't choose a dickhead, there is no way they're not going to close their eyes, right? And it's the same with our clients in the clinic. Like, I've been purposely talking to you today with a voice that regulates your nervous system and makes you feel safe. So right now, I know that all of you guys would be feeling quite relaxed, right? Is everyone feeling relaxed? Because I've been playing with the hypnotic voice. Yeah. So I've been regulating you guys with my voice. And it's one of the biggest things that you learn. And you don't learn it through doing a training. Even if you do the diploma and stuff, we don't really go into the hypnotic voice too much because it actually happens with practice. It's one of those things that come with practice. And you might not even know you're doing it, but you actually learn to regulate people using your voice. And what you'll hear, a lot of people do that naturally, that do healing. And what you'll hear is people will say to you, oh, every time you talk to me, I feel so relaxed, because you are actually naturally using your voice and your body language to regulate people. Regulate people means just getting people into a space where they feel safe. Safe with you, and they're not gonna, their mind's not gonna open, and they're not gonna be ready for change unless they do feel safe with you. So today what I thought is we could actually play with the different techniques that we can do to make people feel safe, and we can play with each other. Do you know what I mean? With using our voice and our body. using our body is way more fun if you're in person. Like I said to you before, you imagine if Caroline's doing it right now, swaying. Like she's messing with my head because she's chanced me out so many times that even though I can see 17 people, Caroline is messing with my head, rocking. Do you know what I mean? And it's trance. She's trancing me out. So there's so many things that we can do to work with people before we actually put them into that space.
I find like when you do this swaying as well, that there's some clients it just happens. Do you know what I mean? That I'm doing.
It just happens because you're going in.
Depending on which client it is. So it's not every client I would sit and do that with. Do you know what I mean? But there are some that I'll just in person or online. I have that I don't know whether it's like regulating me as well, but it's just about is my volume even on? Sorry, I thought my mic was off.
Yeah.
Jibber
And you can see like
here.
Yeah, when you watch Caroline doing that, if you were working with a client and you were doing the interview, and at the same time you're moving, there'll be a moment that when they're moving with you and they're actually in an altered state because their subconscious is following instructions.
And then you'll notice that their breathing will match yours too, because it's all, anywho.
Yeah. So it's when we start to notice about regulation and regulating people, this is what we're actually doing. And getting really aware of body language and how we speak and how we look. And Caroline is swaying. Did you guys just watch Caroline then when she swayed, when I mentioned it? Did you feel your energy move with it? Like just starting to go in sync. Yeah, and that is an altered state. If your body starts to move with hers, and like so say if I use it as an example. So like if I was sitting like this with someone, and we are swaying and they start to sway and I went like this. Can you feel it? What does it make your eyes want to do? What does it do to your energy when you see a hand just drift down? You can unmute yourselves.
It makes you want to close your eyes.
Makes you want to close your eyes, yeah. And this is happening with us online. Can you imagine what it's like in person with somebody when you just use your body language to work with someone without even using your voice? So what I'm going to get you to do just quickly is I am going to actually get you to do that. Like the thing is the energy of your hand going over your eyes, even doing it yourself very slowly, just in a wave, you will actually feel how you want your own eyes to close. Like you do it to yourselves now. Like use your own hand and do it to yourself and see if you can keep your eyes open. Just keep on doing it. Just like a wave. So waving down. I don't know if you guys have ever done belly dancing where you do that. But yes, I could just like a wave. But can you feel the energy as you bring your hands down over your eyes, how they just want to close?
What I've been doing,
like Carol.
What I've been doing, Justine, because I've been doing that when I'm doing my havening, but I make them roll their eyes up first and watch my hands, so they're also rolling their eyes up and then going down and up.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a trick.
Yeah, it's the power of our hands. And you can do that with someone without even saying a single word. Because if we were just sitting, right, we're going to just do a little bit of work now. And they're just sitting looking at you and you've already regulated them with your voice. And you've told them we're going to do some work and you just sit there. And then you just go like that. They'll follow you because they're following your breath. Yeah. So it's really interesting when we play. In the olden days, I didn't actually realize this was a form of magnetism. So what they used to do is they used to stare. Mm-hmm. And you see the old things where they go, oh, I'm going to mess you up. I'm going to pull things out of you. But it's the same thing. It's playing with energy, but we've gotten so much into using words and sticking to scripts, that we don't want to miss the magic, which actually is our body language and our breath. And even like they say heart math, our heart rate variability, it goes out for miles. They haven't actually been able to find the end of where our heart ends, our electrical field ends coming out of our heart. So we are kind of playing with that energy that we have. Yeah, so my biggest thing in the last few weeks was going, wow, if we can learn this and master this, then we're never going to have any issues, because there will always be people, like I said, there's people that don't feel so safe in the world. And if you are working, for me purposely, I work with people that have had massive trauma. I first work online, because as long as they're safe in their environment, their mind actually understands the noises in their home, in their room, and they feel safe in their room, so that we're not introducing them to a whole new array of noises and feelings and energy. So for me, anyone that's coming to me for like sexual abuse or trauma, I always do sessions online first, even if they're in Rotorua, just so that they're safe in their environment, and we don't have to do that. There's another thing to think about when we are talking about regulating people, and I'm going to mention it now. I was going to mention it later, but because I'm talking about being safe, is that to feel safe in the world, we need to be able to hear the noises around us. So I talk to people about putting on noise at nighttime when we sleep, because if our bedroom is silent, if we're a troubled sleeper, meaning we find it hard to go to sleep, if the room is silent, then there's a tiger coming. Because if we lived in the bush and the bush suddenly went quiet, it's usually because all the animals are stopping to listen to the footstep of the human that's going to come and get them, or the tiger, you know what I mean? So silence can actually sometimes mean danger to our brains as an animal. And so hearing noise actually allows us to feel safe. So when people have trouble sleeping now, I tell them to put on noise like pink noise or water or wind blowing, because if they can, the mind instantly thinks, well, if the wind is blowing and there's sound, then I'm safe. It's when everything goes quiet that you've got to actually notice. Do you know what I mean? So for us, when we're working with people, silence, when we're putting someone into an altered state, silence is magic. Like, it actually is magic, because the mind can start to hear, and it will. I'll do it with you guys in a minute, but when we go quiet, we start to listen. We don't consciously start to listen, but you'll feel yourselves expand and listen to the noises around you. And when you can't hear danger, you'll actually relax. So what we'll do is we'll do that together for a moment. So what I'll get you to do is, I'm going to pin myself. I'm going to actually spotlight so you can see my scary eyes. My scary eyebrows, because I just dyed them. Apologies. They're very dark. I left them on. ADHD, I forgot that I had it on for about 2 hours, and it's supposed to be 3 minutes. So it'll be a long time before they lighten. But I'm used to it now. I've done it my whole life, the over dyeing. So what I'm going to get you to do is, I'm just going to get you to just relax your gaze and look at the screen, and we'll just listen to some noises. Okay. And then while you're listening, I'm just going to remove spotlight again. While you're listening, did you notice how your ability to hear kind of grew stronger? Did you guys notice that? Like, there was a moment where you started to hear more? Who noticed that? Did anyone not kind of hear that?
I noticed it.
Yeah. We're going to do it again. I want you to actually move yourself. So I want you to be wide awake. So wake up, have a drink. So I want you to be really conscious. And then we're just gonna look. I'm gonna leave everyone on the screen. I think it's easier without just my eyes on there. Oh,
But your eyes dilated a bit too. I was watching them.
no, I know I went into trance really quickly because it was just quiet. But well, okay, I can do that. Do you prefer it, everybody, or do you want just a face? It's up to you.
Just a face.
Okay, just a face. Okay, and once again, we'll do it. So we're just gonna just take a breather and relax down, and then we'll just notice what our senses do in the quiet. All right, so just going to remove spotlight again. Tell me, everybody, when you were doing that, what did it feel like in your body, and what did your mind do? Like, I see tears. going into trance versus. What did your guys' mind do? Did you notice it went quiet?
Yes.
It's enormously focused on the sound, so it brings you very much into yourself.
Did everybody kind of experience that? There was no noise and there was just noise, like the outside noise?
Yes. Yes.
Now, put your hand up here if you diagnose yourself as ADHD. Some of us normally have a very quiet, very busy brain. But for some reason, with someone looking at you and just not saying anything, and that it's like, I don't know if it's the intenseness of it or just the having a space where they're holding space. It's like you go into that altered state really quickly. So, yeah.
That hyperfixation, do you know what I mean? That because that's what you're fixating on at the moment. It's just the breathing. It's just that's all you have to do.
And it's no words. So what I'm going to actually get you to do is I'm going to put you into pairs. If you can't do a practice, versus is yawning. If you can't do a practice, just let me know now before I set up the rooms. But what I'm actually just going to get you to do, we're not going to do anything more, is you're going to practice it with one person leading and one person following. And what you're going to do is, so the person that's leading, you're going to look at each other in the eyes. And I want the person that is leading first to actively breathe when you feel like it. So the breathing will be quite noisy, okay? Yeah. So if you can't practice, that's fine, because what I'm actually going to do is, if you can't practice, I'll just put you in a room, but a room of 3, and you can just watch if that's all good. If you've got your camera off, I'll just put you in a room of 3 and you can just watch what the other 2 are doing. But we really, right now, all we're going to do is just silence, stare with the occasional breath. So the person you choose to lead is going to breathe loud enough for the other to hear when ready, and just do it only when you feel you're going to like another layer of relaxation, okay? So we're going to keep the eyes open and we're going to see just for a moment what kind of state we can get somebody in.
Do you think, should we use the hand first or not necessarily?
Not yet.